Rise, grind, shine, peace and blessing. It's a new day. And you're now listening to Curtis Rice, Airborne Royal 86. Hey, first off, let's start this episode off with some words of encouragement. I'm not sure what type of day you're having, so take this with you on your way. Make sure the deodorant that you choose is in your best interest. Non-aluminum deodorant, to be exact. All deodorant is clearly not created equal. And I had to learn the hard way. I was in a store and I was reaching for something. It wasn't a pleasant reach. I want to say I left out of the store immediately. I had to go gather myself. Aluminum it is for me for the time being until I find the right one. Which brings me to this amazing book that I came across, Chop Wood, Carry Water. One of the key takeaways that I received from this book, first off, the book is about going through a process, enjoying the process. Not necessarily enjoying the process, because a lot of times when you are on a mission, on a journey, whatever your path is, you're presented with choices based on what path you choose. Let's put it that way. So the reason I enjoyed this book so much is because it talks about a person who, I don't want to spoil the book, but this is what I received from it. It's about going through a process. Not all processes are enjoyable, meaning you might be on your road of success. It might not be enjoyable some days. Still got to keep pushing. When you want something and you looking over here, you looking over there, and you start comparing yourself to people, that's when you start messing up, because you lose sight of your journey and what it is that you want for yourself. It was a particular chapter that spoke about fueling your heart. And fueling your heart is based on what you read, what you watch, what you listen to, and who you surround yourself with. Most importantly, how you talk to yourself. Each one of these ways can be applied in everyday life. But it just made me think about how getting up first thing in the morning, the first thing you do is grab your phone. How sucked in you can be when it comes to information. It's just pouring through. And before you know it, you've been on the toilet for 3 hours for no reason, because you're on the ground, you're on the book, you threading. It gets pretty carried away after a while. And most of the time, if you've been online for all that time in the morning, sad to say, some people probably forgot to brush their teeth. That's unacceptable, but that's none of my business. So let me keep going. It's a ton of information floating around online. You know, you can be drawn to any one of these people who present themselves as gurus, present themselves as masters, and present themselves as whatever title they proclaim to be. However, not all information is factual. There's a ton of information floating around, which can be very overwhelming, especially when you're in your process for yourself. You're trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what's best for you, what's your information, what's your language that you want to speak across your audience or whoever. I personally decided to do a fast from certain things I was subscribed to. I literally went through my channels and unsubscribed to a lot of things that wasn't sitting right with me. You know, I don't want to get on the internet and first thing in the morning I see is somebody fighting, or somebody taking something out of the store, or somebody, you know, somebody's babies being disrespectful, or whatever the case is. And it might, you know, humor is humor. That's one thing about humor. I'm not here to comb through humor and say what's funny and what's not funny. Some things are just not funny. But after a while, when you see the same things over and over, it starts to weigh on you if you're a person that wants more, that wants to see new things, that wants to see something different. And when you see the same things over and over, it becomes repetitive, and it becomes something that you get tired of. And when you get bored with it, it's like, all right, it's time to switch it up. But that was me personally. I decided to do a fast from certain content, because it's the same information. It's just being said 1,000 different ways. And for me, that's too much. I can become a information hoarder with so much information. Like, I got a whole bunch of books, physical books and digital books, and to the point where I have hard drives full of information and things that I want to learn. And let's be all the way honest, most of these things I can honestly say I might not be able to get to in this lifetime. That's how much information that I've been not only consuming but hoarding in the process. Or what I'm realizing is that consuming all this information without implementation creates, wait for it, stagnation and procrastination. Yeah, you ain't ready, but no, it's the truth. Stagnation and procrastination on so many levels, because you're trying to overly prepare yourself to do the first thing, which is taking that first step. And a lot of times when you don't take that first step, you start judging yourself and you start comparing yourself to people who are currently living what they perceive or what they portray to be the lifestyle. The lifestyle might not be your lifestyle or my lifestyle. However, if that's what you see all day and all night, after a while you start to think like, I too wonder what it would be like to do these things. And I've come to terms that everything ain't for me. And I'm cool with that. That doesn't mean I don't want anything. But if I don't want what you want and you don't want what I want, that's okay too. We don't have to want the same things. But what I will say is this: being around people who don't want anything at all in life, I'm not moved by that. Then after a while, you start getting mad at other successful people because they are illustrating the lifestyle that you didn't get up and take the first step to do anything about when it comes to you and yours. Gotta pay attention to the signs. So with that being said, you can't be mad at anybody who decided to execute and put their foot forward and get to it and really put in the work. Today's been one of them days where I find myself overthinking again. And that's something that I'm currently working on. And it's a practice. It's not one of them things where it's like I'm gonna stop overthinking today and then just automatically stop, because there's so much information that's circulating on an everyday basis. And the moment you think you're doing something, or the moment you think that you on a roll, it's like, nah, you're not there yet. You still got work to do. But then after a while, it's like, man, not everyone wants to contribute for the same reasons. Like, I'm not stingy with information. Matter of fact, I love sharing information. Information in terms of growth. Information in terms of, I love documentaries. That's one thing. Documentaries, music. And the thing is, music is a little different. That's a different topic, because I can honestly listen to music that I enjoy, and that's all different genres of music, but I can listen to music that I enjoy, and sometimes music restores certain feelings. Music is a timestamp to certain moments from childhood up until, your great memories, your not so great memories. And I find myself introducing certain music to my kids. They might not understand it, but I will say that their palette of music is extended based on what I play around them. Now, I don't play everything around them. Now, some days it's the old school, some days it's the alternative. Some days it's just really get ratchet, but nothing excessive when it comes to the excessive violent stuff, shit like that. Like, I don't really go too deep off into that. But at the same time, I'm mindful of what I play around them. Now, coming up, playing certain types of music wasn't happening coming up around me. But you know what? That's a contradiction. Let me rephrase that, because I say, if anyone had anything to say about me playing the music that I listen to, now that I listen to the music that my people grew up listening to, my parents, my grandparents, my aunts was cool. My aunts put me up on some music. Like, that's a whole nother, I'll get into that here shortly, but my aunts was cool. Like, I learned about way more music, and my uncle put me up on a lot of music too. Great times, by the way. But yeah, like as I recall, I'm like, y'all music was on some other shit. Let's be all the way honest. My mom always played, who would she play? My mom always played Keith Sweat, Orange Juice Jones, The Rain, which I still play to this day. That's classic. I don't care what nobody say. That's classic. EU University, this song called The Butt. If anyone has anything to say about Back That Ass Up today, you can go YouTube that, go check that out. And the things that was going on in that video, it was more grinding in that video than it was in Back That Ass Up. So I'm like, what was y'all complaining about? But either way, they just let you know how far music has come, and it's still growing. I want music to continue to evolve, and I want music to continue to grow without it being combed through, with everything that's going on being so sensitive. When you start telling people how to express themselves, that's when the art of expression dies. And this, I didn't get off into this, and I started out talking about the process, and as far as like with the book, Chop Wood, Carry Water is a great book to me in the time of the things that I've been consuming, the information that I've been consuming, because no matter what, it's like, go through the process. Don't worry about what they doing. Don't worry about what he doing. Don't worry about what she doing. Focus on the process. Go through your process, and you might be doing the same thing over and over, but after a while, you get better and better and better. And it might not be in 30 days. It might not be in 6 months. But to commit to something and dedicate yourself to something for years and start a day at a time, that's one of the best things that creates that discipline. It creates different forms of discipline that allows you to really appreciate the steps and the moves that you've been making in order to get to where you are. Like what I'm doing right now is I'm pressing start. This was my original concept of how I wanted to start podcasting, documenting a voice, a journey through music, artistry, through communication, life in general. I ended up going into a direction that I wasn't feeling. I really wasn't feeling the direction that I went into, because I want what I represent, I want what I say, I want what I do to really align with the direction that I'm headed in, which is forward. I'm not interested in what's behind me in terms of old news, old associates and things like that, because the saddest part about it is you have people that are still in 2009, and it's not enjoyable to have conversations with people who stuck in '09. That's not something that I subscribe to. I don't subscribe to just sitting around talking about other people, whether it's other people who are not doing the best, or whatever your definition of the best is, or people who are doing great. Like, I don't subscribe to sitting having long-winded conversations about successful people or unsuccessful people. If you're consuming all day, when do you create? You gotta ask yourself that question. Like, am I gonna create or am I gonna consume? A lot of times it's not always a balance, because there's so many options. There's so many streaming platforms. There's so many things to subscribe to. But I had to dial back when I was going through unsubscribing from a lot of these channels and a lot of these different accounts, being online every single day, because it's like, you gotta post 50 times a day. You gotta do this. And I'm like, man, most of the time I feel like the people who saying that shit, they ain't even doing that shit. If you don't go with your move and go with what's best for you, and it's like, are you building yourself up to be the best version of you? Or are you trying to be the millionth copy of the next person who's telling you about an algorithm, or who's telling you about how many times a day you're supposed to do this? And it's like, man, look, that's how you get tired of people, like, real quick. There are people who are around the same people all day, every day. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. So imagine going to your phone when you're trying to get away, or you trying to feel uplifted, or whatever that may be, and a person is yelling at you, telling you all day that you ain't doing shit, that everything you doing is completely wrong. There's one thing to get a wake-up call. That's one thing. To understand that self-awareness plays a huge part in change if you decide to change. You can't force a person to change. And I've been so caught up in a lot of information for so long, and it's like, man, everyone does not do the same things the same way. They don't. I don't draw the same way that you draw, which is something that I'm very happy about starting all over again. Drawing was my first love. I was able to really embrace that isolation in my imagination and just really dive into what I was interested in, what I liked. And I found myself drawing things that I didn't understand. I didn't even realize why I was drawing things. I was always drawing, other than characters and cartoons and stuff like that, different cars and different houses. And drawing really helped me to develop a practice that I didn't have to worry about anyone interfering with. You know, a lot of times when you do something and you have a lot of I do that tools start to come around, it can become discouraging. Drawing is a way for me to try different techniques, try different approaches, and experiment with different shades and being more creative with different tools. Not just someone saying, hey, use this and use this only, and this is the only way you can create something. Drawing was the first foundation for me when it comes to art. And as I look at everything today, it translates in a digital form in terms of art, whether it be logos or how I view different art forms, from the photo aspect, from photography to videos, and just the graphic design aspect of being able to incorporate the drawing into it, but in a digital form. I found myself the last few weeks going back and starting with that blank canvas. Everybody's asleep. Let me just start. I wasn't the person that drew the same way. I didn't do that whole circle and the line and everything and then start. And I did that for the first time a couple weeks ago. And I actually enjoyed it to the point where I want to tap into it even more. I'm already knowing, like I said prior to, being an information hoarder, there's so many different ways to lock in when it comes to art. But the way I feel when I'm drawing and the way I feel when I'm sitting down and I'm just letting it flow, I don't get that vibe from certain things. Now, going into music is another way of expression for me. However, culture is a very interesting thing, because competition creates something way beyond your control. Because you can't tell another person how to compete. You can't tell another person how to understand defeat. You can't tell another person to congratulate the win. Congratulate another person winning and how you step it up. Some don't do well with that. So with me going into my music journey, there was, once again, for me, it was breaking away, being able to not only express myself, but I taught myself a lot of things along the way in different layers, from production, still incorporating the graphic design element into it, just practicing and communicating more and more things that I couldn't talk to certain people about. And when I first started doing music, it was not good. Now, I thought it was getting there because I was going through those beginning stages. Now that when I think about it, I'm gonna say it wasn't good at all. But at that time, it was something, because it's like, okay, I might not know 1,000% of what I'm doing, but I'm gonna figure this shit out. And it got to a point where the subject matters was just all over the place. I just wanted to rap. That's all there was. It went from that to the battling, and it was real when you battle somebody on the phone. Like, I ain't finna wait to see you face to face. I'm finna battle you now. I was saying all kinds of shit. It just didn't make sense. I thought the faster you went, that it was like, oh shit, you going off. I was going off the subject. Those times helped me appreciate what life was offering me before my eyes. It was showing me that a lot of times you can't wait for people to come through. You can't wait for this person to produce this. You can't wait for this person to get your cover done. You can't wait for this person to mix this. You can't wait for this person to do it. You just can't wait. And it created a level of leadership within myself to start delivering outside of myself. Whether I was the only one wearing the shirt with my logo on it or whatever that logo was at the time. And it got to the point where I was realizing that I was learning how to do things. I was learning how to do shirts. I was learning how to press up music. I was learning how to distribute. I was learning how to communicate, how to market, how to brand. And then when I look back on it now, of course, I can say so many different ways. I was doing this wrong. I was doing that. But no, I was going through the process. So now to this day, when I talk about music and how comparison can kick your own ass, that's a deeper conversation. You can be delivering at high levels and high volumes, and the wrong conversation on the wrong day can shatter that because of a person who's not up to speed. And sometimes you got to know the difference. Like, everyone is not going to appreciate your level of creativity.